FIFA is cooked, and I don't say that lightly. I say that as someone who loves football, or soccer, depending on which part of the world you're from. I say that as someone who grew up with the game, who played U21 for my district when I was younger, who understands what it feels like to be on the pitch, to sweat, to fight, to lose, to accept decisions that hurt. Because every player knows one thing: referees are human. They make mistakes. Sometimes they miss a foul. Sometimes they give a soft yellow. Sometimes they see a handball that nobody else sees. Sometimes they don't see what everyone in the stadium saw. And as players, we accept that. We complain. We shout. We throw our hands in the air. But deep down, we accept that football is played by humans, watched by humans, and judged by humans. Human error is part of the game. But what happened in Argentina versus Egypt was not normal human error. It was something else. Egypt scored. The ball went in. A nation believed. Players celebrated. Fans screamed. For one moment, it felt like football had given us what football is supposed to give us: drama, emotion, justice, possibility. And then VAR came in. Not immediately for something obvious. Not for a clear offside where everyone freezes and waits. Not for a handball on the goal line. VAR went back. Back into the build-up. Back to a foul the referee did not call in real time. Back to something that had already been allowed to flow with the game. And suddenly, the goal was gone. Just like that. A goal in a World Cup knockout match disappeared because someone decided after the fact that the game should be rewound. And this is where I have a serious question for FIFA. Where do you draw the line? If a foul happens 5 seconds before a goal, okay, maybe we can discuss it. If it happens 10 seconds before, maybe people will still argue. But what if it happens 30 seconds before? What if it happens 1 minute before? What if a foul is committed 10 seconds into the game, the referee sees it or doesn't see it, play continues, the ball never goes out of bounds, and then in the 45th minute someone scores? Do you call that back too? Do you erase 45 minutes of football? Do you send everyone back to the 10th second? Does the clock go back? Does the emotion go back? Does the momentum go back? Does the damage go back? Because football is not a video game. You cannot just press rewind and pretend everything that happened afterward no longer mattered. That is not justice. That is selective time travel. And if FIFA wants to play that game, then let's play it honestly. If Egypt's goal can be called back because of something that happened earlier in the sequence, then what about the tackle on Mohamed Salah? If a similar kind of contact happened before Argentina's goal, why was that not reviewed with the same intensity? Why was one moment treated like the entire universe had to stop, while another moment was allowed to disappear into silence? That is the part that hurts. Not just the decision itself, the inconsistency, the feeling that the same rules are not being applied with the same weight. Because football fans are not stupid. We know when a decision is difficult. We know when a referee has a bad angle. We know when a tackle is 50-50. We know when both sides can argue. But we also know when the spirit of the game is being broken. And this is bigger than Egypt. This is bigger than Argentina. This is bigger than one match, one goal, one referee, or one VAR room. This is about trust. Because the World Cup is not supposed to feel like this. The World Cup is supposed to be the one place where the world comes together under the same rules. Rich country, poor country. Famous team, small team. Superstar, unknown player. It is supposed to be 11 against 11, one ball, one dream. In an unfair world, football is supposed to give us a small piece of fairness. That is why people cry for this sport. That is why people paint their faces, skip work, wake up at 3 a.m., travel across continents, and carry memories of one match for the rest of their lives. Because football is not just entertainment. Football is belief. It is the belief that on one day, for 90 minutes, anything can happen. But when decisions like this happen, that belief starts to die. And lately, it feels like FIFA is not protecting the game. It feels like FIFA is damaging it. Look at what happened with Folarin Balogun's red card suspension. A red card becomes a suspension, Then suddenly there are phone calls, pressure, politics, and somehow the suspension is put on probation. Probation? Since when does football discipline work like a political favor? Since when does the punishment depend on who calls whom? Since when does a red card become negotiable? And then, almost immediately after that, we get Argentina versus Egypt. Another controversy. Another moment where fans are left asking the same question. Is this really football? Or is this football being managed, adjusted, softened, corrected, and rewritten until the result feels less like a match and more like an administrative decision? That is why I am genuinely disappointed. Because I love this game. I don't want to hate FIFA. I don't want to watch the World Cup with suspicion. I don't want to look at every VAR check and wonder whether the same standard would apply if the shirts were reversed. I don't want to feel that some teams need to score twice just to have one goal counted. That is not football. That is not the World Cup I grew up loving. And maybe this is where FIFA is pushing the sport. Maybe FIFA is pushing us toward the end of the human referee. Because if human referees make mistakes, and VAR is supposed to fix them, but VAR itself becomes inconsistent, selective, and impossible to understand, then what is left? More cameras? More technology? AI referees? Automated fouls? A game where every touch, every pull, every step, every collision is analyzed by machines? Maybe that is where we are going. But if that is the future, then FIFA should be honest about it. Tell us football is no longer judged by the flow of the game. Tell us emotion no longer matters. Tell us celebration is only provisional. Tell us every goal is just a temporary suggestion until someone in a room decides whether we are allowed to feel joy. Because that is what VAR has become. You don't celebrate anymore. You wait. You don't scream anymore. You check the referee. You don't trust the moment anymore. You stare at the screen. And that is tragic. Because football was beautiful because it was alive. Messy, imperfect, emotional, human. But now FIFA is taking that humanity and replacing it with confusion. Not clarity. Confusion. Not fairness. Confusion. Not justice. Confusion. And when confusion keeps benefiting the powerful, people stop calling it confusion. They start calling it unfairness. They start calling it corruption. They start calling it cooked. And that is where we are now. FIFA is cooked. Because the problem is no longer one bad call. The problem is that fans no longer know what the rules mean. Players no longer know when a phase of play begins or ends. Coaches no longer know what will be reviewed and what will be ignored. And supporters no longer know whether the game they are watching is being decided on the pitch or somewhere else. That is dangerous. Because once trust is gone, football becomes just another product, just another show, just another business. And the World Cup cannot survive on money alone. It survives on belief. The belief that when a small team scores against a giant, the goal counts. The belief that when a player is fouled, the badge on his shirt does not decide whether VAR cares. The belief that the rules are the same for everyone. The belief that football at its highest level still belongs to the people. But FIFA is killing that belief. And if FIFA continues down this road, then one day people will still watch the World Cup, but they will watch it differently. Not with wonder, not with innocence, not with trust. They will watch it like they watch politics. They will assume something is happening behind the curtain. And that would be the saddest thing of all, because football was supposed to be the escape from that. Football was supposed to be the fair place in an unfair world. And in Argentina versus Egypt, for many fans, FIFA killed that feeling. So, yes, referees make mistakes. Players make mistakes. Fans make mistakes. That is football. But when the system itself becomes the source of injustice, when the technology meant to protect the game becomes the thing that destroys the game, when the rules are applied one way here and another way there, then we are no longer talking about human error. We are talking about a crisis of legitimacy. And FIFA needs to understand something very simple. You can survive angry fans. You can survive controversial matches. You can survive bad headlines. but you cannot survive a world that stops believing the game is fair. Because once the people stop believing, the magic is gone. And without magic, the World Cup is just a tournament. Without trust, VAR is just a weapon. Without fairness, football is just theater. And if that is what FIFA wants, then they should say it clearly. But if FIFA still claims to protect the game, then protect it. Protect the players. Protect the fans. Protect the small teams. Protect the moments that make football worth loving. Because right now it feels like FIFA is not protecting football. It feels like FIFA is cooking it alive.